to the Clemson Dubcast. It is Friday, September 20th. Lovely afternoon in Clemson, South Carolina. Gearing up for Game 3 in the ACC opener against NC State. Got plenty of content at TigerIllustrated.com coming your way, including our take, or our insight, I guess, on whether Peter Woods and Tyler Brown are going to play in this game. So lots more coming your way later today and into game day and through the weekend at TigerIllustrated.com. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAM law.com. Solero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Okay, to part two of our long conversation, 2-hour long conversation with Brad Brownell. Again, earlier this summer, so some of this might be dated, but I think you're still going to really enjoy this second segment. Ballpark, how many texts did you get after, I guess, first the Sweet 16 and then the win over Arizona?
Yeah, 300 plus. I think it was 360 something was after the Arizona game. That was the high.
So when do you get around to responding, and what's your approach on that?
Yeah, I respond to everybody. I believe in that. It's just like you write me a note, I'm going to write you a note back. It's, whenever I can, it's usually in bunches, right? Like, certainly there are some folks that need immediate response, or reasonably immediate, and then the other times you just kind of knock it out, might do 20 at a time, right? And just kind of slowly knock it out as best you can, but certainly get back to everybody. If somebody takes the time to contact me, I'm going to, certainly show them the respect to text them back.
What was the most memorable one you got? Or maybe one where the average Joe would be like, I wouldn't have thought he would have gotten one from him.
Man, I can't even think of that. That's a great question. There's no wow. I'm not like Sweeney. I'm not friends with all the elite in the world. And, that guy's got singers and songwriters and, famous coaches and all these people. I'm more of a regular Joe. So it's mostly regular folks. One of the cool things for me was my high school coach, came to Memphis and watched the two games in Memphis. And I think that's a pretty cool story. I'm obviously a 55-year-old man now. So,
wow.
I tell my players all the time that, guys, first thing I tell them is, hey, man, I didn't love all my coaches when they were coaching me. I said, so believe me, I get it. Like when I'm on your ass and telling you the truth and it's not what you want to hear, I was pissed at my coaches too at times. But I also knew my coaches cared about me and, and I care about you, and I'll have a relationship with you as long as you want to have one with me. And I tell my players that all the time. And, when you're 21, you may not want to have one with me much longer, but usually when you get a little older, you realize that, that can be pretty special. And obviously that was special with me. My college coach passed away, 5 years ago, I think it was, and had a relationship with him the whole time. But then my high school coach, I still do. And, so that was pretty cool to have he and his wife. They made a trip to Clemson this year, and they come, about every other year or two. But for them to go to Memphis and be involved in those, and, pretty cool to get a hug from your high school coach after winning a game like that.
Yeah, you talk about being coached hard. Obviously, not as much of an appetite for that nowadays. But I remember talking with interviewing PJ Hall, Jerome Hall, PJ's dad.
Yeah,
and he said one of the reasons he loved you so much is because you coach his ass hard.
Yeah.
Is that one thing? Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as you look back on him, there are many special things that make him a special player in your mind, but is that one of them?
Yeah, he was always very coachable. And that's part of what you have to do as a coach is you have to know which kids can take it and which kids can't, right? And, sometimes you're coaching PJ harder on certain things because you're also messaging your team through PJ, and PJ knew that because we'd come in here and I'd close the door with him and talk about things. And you realize, like, I got on you really hard tonight because I needed to also show an example to some of the rest of the guys. And I know, you can take it. And, obviously you have to have, kids have to know you care, right? And you gotta really work to be connected with them and spend time with them and talk to them as best you can. And, that's always one of the more challenging things I tell assistants, like, guys, when you become the head coach, it's just not as natural for kids to want to come into your office into the head coach's office as much as he does an assistant, or to, because there are times when you're forced to talk to them about things that can be uncomfortable and critical. And, you're certainly trying to encourage them and love them and hug them up as much as you can, but there are also real conversations that have to be had to understand that you can do better, and educating them on things that, a lot of them just, they don't know what they don't know. You come in here as a freshman and you don't know what you don't know, and you really don't know how hard it is. And you think basketball. And that's one of the things that all these guys laugh about is when you talk to them as a sophomore. Remember when you came in here and thought you knew basketball? How much basketball did you know? Boy, I really didn't know very much, coach. Yeah, right. That's part of the difference. And so it's really you really have to work at it. You have to really work at it because obviously everybody knows kids want to know why, and kids still want to be coached. They want to be coached. They want discipline. They want to work. They want to get better. If they know that you're getting them better, if they know that what you tell them is the truth and that you care about them and that it helps make them better, they'll listen to you. And you're certainly not negative nearly as much as you are positive. It needs to be probably 4 positive for every 1 negative. And so that's why I kind of talking about certain times when you are tough on your team, you can only do that every so often. Right. And or they'll tune you out. And that's just not the way to deal with these kids this day and age. But there are also times like after the ACC tournament, what the hell are we doing? Right? I don't understand. Help me understand. This was embarrassing. This was, I talked to them about the significance of the ACC tournament and what that tournament means. And, I'm disappointed in myself because I haven't been able to get a team to a championship game. And that really is a point of contention with me. And then for our team to play that poorly, I couldn't understand it. And so there are times that you're having those kinds of conversations with players and with teams. But you're quickly following that up with building them back up or giving them confidence. That's why it was so important to have the 2 or 3 practices where we were really hard on them. And then it's like, hey, we need to celebrate our season and let's get ready for this tournament. And then selection show was a celebration. And, a lot of hugging and loving and telling them how proud you are of them. And man, again, like we're getting ready to do something special. We've got ourselves in this tournament and we're going to do something special and nobody thinks we can do it. That's what's going to make it even better. I don't even know if our fans and certainly the media doesn't think we can, but it doesn't matter what any of those people think. It only matters what we think. And we know we've done it, so we're going to go do it. And it's funny. I kept telling them, I've been telling you guys all year, we're capable of making the Final Four. Let's just play to our potential. And so I've tangented again, but my point to the whole thing was I do think like you have to pick your spots and you have to pick your players that you can be a little harder on. Hunter Tyson, PJ Hall, those guys. Amir Sims, you could do that with an Amir Sims, but you're not doing that with every player. And you're certainly going to do it with guys that are good players that can handle some things and know you care about them and aren't going to take it personally. And you don't make it personal. It's just about the performance. And, but that it's crazy just getting texts from former players, right? That was as good as anything, is watching our former players just be so proud of their program. I mean, I get emotional thinking about that. Just the guys that have poured into these last 14 years. Amazing.
Yeah, that is. What was it, a calculated risk being that hard on them after the ACC tournament? Because as you said, they could tune you out.
No, I don't think so. I think that was probably what they expected. But, it wasn't just that. We had a real conversation. If you remember, I kept the assistants out. It was me and the players, and we probably had a 45-minute conversation about a lot of different things that just needed to be talked about to get our minds in a good headspace, right? It's clearly – something was off at the ACC tournament. And as the head coach, I was embarrassed because I didn't see it coming. And I don't think none of our players did either. That's what, and then I think what happened is we knew that, like, I knew when Boston College won that, like, hey, this is going to be a hard game, man. Like, their big kid matches up with PJ and he's playing really good. And Jaden Zachary's a tough SOB, and he's going to fight like crazy against our guys. And, and it's just like, it's going to be one of those grinder games you're not going to get away from them. It's just going to have to, and they just won a game. And I tell people that all the time, like the fact that they beat Miami the day before, like they're coming in with juice and energy and positivity and momentum. And we got smacked. And so I had to figure out, like, what the heck is going on? Where's my team emotionally, mentally? Why? I don't understand. Because we had good practices and I thought we had good meetings. And I thought we were prepared. And I don't think it was good playing at 9:00 that night. I think waiting around all day, somehow it's kind of like I don't know. I did a bad job with them. I don't know what happened. And that's part of what I wanted to figure out in that meeting is what am I doing wrong? Where are we? What's wrong with us? And get a gauge from them on some things. And then they had a couple conversations and comments to each other that were very poignant that probably needed to be said. And there was some urgency from the older guys. And it's just, it's funny. It's a long season, and in long seasons, emotionally, it's hard to be all on the same page and together all the time. It just, the ebbs and flows. And I mean, it's not all basketball. I mean, it's personal things that are going on outside of basketball that sometimes get into the team or affect a couple guys, and it can be a problem. And you just, the best thing we did was, that loss probably helped us clear the air on a couple things with a couple guys and just recenter and have a couple of hard practices to get back to getting after it. And then it was like, man, let's go. And we were just, you just had a sense we were ready.
Not to bring it back to football again, but I'm thinking back to the 18 football season, the one that they beat Alabama 44-16. Well, the last regular season game, South Carolina's here. Everybody's thinking, 50-point blowout. Well, South Carolina throws for like 600 yards, it felt like, and we're giving them hell. Clemson won by 21, but I think everybody walked out going, there's no way this team is able to win it all and hang with Alabama. But sometimes it's that's almost needed, sort of like a cleansing or a resetting or something. I don't know what you would call it. But
I think that's the part that, players and fans, it's hard for coaches sometimes to make your players understand what, it wasn't easy for me to make my guys understand, hey, Boston College fellas, this is their Super Bowl, right? They're not in the NCAA tournament. They got to win the ACC tournament to go to the NCAA tournament. And so they're highly motivated. They just won a game. They got some pride, right? They're going to come and they match up with us pretty well. This is going to be a hard fought deal. And if we're not playing at a really high level and playing well, the thing with basketball that's different that sometimes football fans don't understand is you can't just knock the guy down in front of you. I mean, the athleticism piece is part of it, but you got to make shots, and sometimes, Jaden Zachary and I'm so bad, the other guard on their team, and they shot the ball like crazy. And obviously some of that's poor defense. It's poor coaching. It's players not doing their jobs. It's all of it. But they get hot and then they're just rolling. They're playing with a free mind. And I think that's the big thing, a free mind, nothing to lose, free spirit. And your guys are almost playing tight, afraid to lose a little bit. I don't even think that was it in that game, but just, hey, we want to do well, but we're just not comfortable yet, right? This is a big environment. It's a big game. It's a big arena. And for whatever reason, if we didn't get off to the good start, we had a harder time because we weren't physically just an ass-kicking team where we stole the ball from you. That's not our style. Our style was protect our basket, play and keep you in front of us, block out, be very fundamental, And so it wasn't like we imposed our will defensively where you almost physically dominate somebody like you're sacking the quarterback every time. You know what I mean? Or they can't even first down run. They're gaining 1 yard. You're behind, you know what I mean? We had to some deficiencies and with some of our personnel in terms of our defense that we're not that kind of style where we just take it from you. Right. And so now the other team's going to run their stuff. And if you're not on point a little bit, they knock a couple shots in and the game just feels different. And basketball can feel different. And all of a sudden you have some shots and you don't make them. I mean, Chase, what the hell happened between Chase in the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament? I mean, it's two complete. I mean, it's the opposite ends of the spectrum, right? I mean, I talked to Chase that week. We had some conversations about things. I tried to help him and give him some thoughts on things I thought that could help him play better, get his confidence back. But I certainly had no idea he would play as bad as he did against Boston College. But truth be known, I probably didn't think he was going to be like, average 18 points and 6 assists a game in the NCAA tournament. I mean, but when he did, then we were good enough to be an Elite Eight, Final Four type team. So how do you explain that as a coach? I mean, that's hard, right? And that's what you want to ask me after every game when we win or lose, right? Like, the hell am I supposed to? How am I supposed to answer that, Larry?
My take going into the NCAAs was, if they go out in the first round, it won't surprise me, and if they go to the Elite Eight, it won't surprise me.
Yep.
Fair?
Well, yes. I mean, there's certainly some, yeah. And I think, again, I think some of that's basketball, right? It's just, probably like, and it's so hard because you don't know where other people are, right? Like, you're not inside our locker room. If you really knew, how we felt, I think our team felt very confidently. But if you looked at our recent performance, no. I mean, you would look at us as like, there's something wrong with those guys, right? They're not jihading right now. And it's also matchups, we felt like our size would bother their guards. If we could keep the game from getting up and down where their speed was dynamic, and it was, and they had to deal with us in the half court setting on both ends, that our size would bother them. And if you really studied it, like, some people should have come to that conclusion. I didn't really listen to all the people. I don't know if anybody did or not, any of the analysts. But yeah, in terms of our team at times was, probably because of the great start that we got off on, the bar was raised. And then during the regular season, we didn't play quite to that standard. And again, we lost some close games. Some of that's me. We had some things get away from us. We probably got a little bit like, let's just get to the NCAA tournament somehow. I mean, I don't think we were thinking that way while we're playing, but it probably subconsciously was part of it, because there was a big deal about that. I mean, that was obviously like the whole goal.
Quick word about a really cool Clemson tailgating option for those of you who don't have regular parking spots. First-class valet service by the Abernathy Hotel, just a block from the Rock. Here's the deal. You drive up to the Abernathy, you and your friends get out of your car, somebody parks it for you, you go inside to the air-conditioned VIP hospitality suite that's loaded with food and drinks. You also get access to their private lounge and bar, food trucks, clean bathrooms, live music, vendors, VIP gift bags, and even a golf cart ride to the stadium. They've already seen a great response to this, so spots are limited. This is for all home games. Call 864-654-5299 or go to theabernathy.com to learn more. It's hard for me to sort of assess Ian moving forward without PJ being there, just because they were such a sort of tandem, and one made the other better, high-low game and all that. I don't know if that's fair, but I'm just curious.
No, I think that's completely fair. I think that's what I'm waiting to see too, right? Like, can Ian do more? Right? Can he take the next step as a player? He was a really good fourth option, right? But now when he's got to be the second option, can he be the second option? Can we count on him consistently to go score 14 points a game? And can he make 53s this year? 35, 50, what's the number going to be? How can his game improve to the point that he can start to make a play or two off the dribble. I think those are all. That's certainly what we're going to try to work with him on this off season. Is all summer is work to continue to develop his game away from the basket. He's got to get in a little better shape. He probably needs to lose a few pounds. He needs to be able to be a little more mobile. I think he has it in him, but it's not easy to do that. It's probably more difficult than people realize because he hasn't played that way his whole life, right? I mean, people forget Ian Shefflin was like the third best player on his high school team. Like, now he had a really good high school team, but so he's never been a guy that's been the guy, and so now all of a sudden that's a big jump. But he made a big jump last year too. So we're counting on that.
Chauncey's toward the end, I guess, in the tournament itself really showed you some of that, I guess, willingness to mix it up closer to the basket. Mm-hmm. Is that really, is that the sort of the.
That's some of it for sure. Like he's just, he's not a natural rebounder. That's the most frustrating piece is the defense and rebounding for him is not as natural. His skill level, his passing is good. His shooting is good. It's funny. We met after his freshman year, and I said, you basically played 3-point line to 3-point line. He never really wanted to get inside the 3-point line. And then after this year, I said, hey, we got you inside the 3-point line, but we still don't have you in the paint. It's like you don't really get into the paint. And, so he shoots a lot of pull-up jumpers and turnaround jumpers. And, for you to be a true big-time player, you got to be a 3-level scorer. You got to play in the paint, too, and get fouled. And you got to make free throws, and you got to rebound the ball. And I think I'm hopeful that it's going to continue to come. I mean, this is where it's hard because there are some natural gifts and or deficiencies that kids have, and their games usually show that. And now it's like you're getting them out of their comfort zone to make them do things that they haven't really grown up doing. And you're trying to expand their games, but it's not as natural for them. It's, there's going to be some failure, and then you got to convince them through failure's growth and, the whole growth mindset and how strong are they mentally and how talented are they to be able to do those new skills, not just in drills or in practice or in individual skill work, but can they do it in a game in front of, 10,000 people? But I think he's ready to do the next thing. And we've shown him, the great thing for us is we've been able to show these guys, other players within the program who have developed and taken the next step. And, you're right in line with this guy to do this. And now it's going to be your turn. Make sure you're prepared for the opportunity.
How much longer would this conversation go on before you'd say, Larry, I got to go, man?
Oh, I don't even know what time it is.
It's gone on a while. Sorry.
You're good. It's all good. It's like I told you a long time ago, continuing to just build interest in our program, excitement in the program. It's funny. It's like what I'm talking about. It's just not as natural down here, right? Like it's just not. And so we have to do our part to have good teams and continue to create excitement and enthusiasm for basketball. There's just so much more of a natural enthusiasm in the culture here for football and even baseball that, if you're willing to talk to me about my team and program for a couple hours in June, then absolutely, I'm going to do it. I mean, this is, it's no different than fundraising or friend raising or what else we've got to do in this time of year to keep building our program.
I asked about that in the press conference you had, I guess, last month and I actually wrote about it during the tournament in the general conversation about Clemson basketball in recent years. In the discussion, when people are pointing out, the positive attributes and how you guys have gotten to the point where, you're an NCAA tournament team, really back-to-back years. Nobody ever it's outside the general consciousness of what you have done, what you just mentioned, the fundraising, and the NIL piece. Obviously, every program is different. Of course, football is different, probably. But it just seems that has been a really significant part of your ability to attract and maintain or, retain talent. Is there, and I don't know if my question during the press conference really went over how I intended it to, but it's really, and I am now, for just the average person out there, say, well, what are you talking about? How have they succeeded at this, and how have they made that really sort of a notch in their belt?
And obviously it's something that's been a little bit of a hot button with me because I don't know that it's been, I've been here a long time and, certainly caught my fair share of criticism and most of it deserved. But when we do things that are significant, I really think it's important that I fight for our program and successes. And, one of the big successes, I've told folks that when I came here, we didn't have anybody that really was just a basketball donor, almost nobody, and nobody consistently, and nobody of any significance that did it year after year. We didn't even have courtside seats, and I thought that was crazy considering we had courtside seats at UNC Wilmington and courtside seats at Wright State, for goodness sake. And, when I first talked about it, they were a little bit like, well, who's going to sit in them? Who's going to pay to do that? I'm like, well, my God, we're in the ACC. We've got to work at it. Somebody, I'm going to work at it, try to build fans and friends for our program. And, I'll do whatever. And thankfully, a guy by the name of Aaron Dunham was hired in IPTAY, and he was hired shortly around the time I was. And we befriended each other and set out to hey man, we got to do something. We can't take any step forward as a program until we improve our facilities. And that's not going to happen unless we find some folks that are going to become supporters of basketball. We can't just, wait for things to happen. And so, again, the amount of time that I've probably given over the last 14 years to do meetings and lunches and golf outings and drinks and, go to different parties and go speak at all these different places and go do favors for folks that you have to do to help build, a group of folks. Because at the end of the day, it's I want folks to get to know me and I want folks to get to know our players and staff, because if you get to know us, you're going to like us and you're going to want to support us. And that's, basically how we did it. But it's going to take a lot of time. It's just like trying to have relationships with your players. You got to spend a lot of time with people to get connected and have them trust you and want to help you. And so, I've just been doing that for a long time. And obviously the first thing you saw is we started to have some courtside seats. And then, obviously we built a new facility, and within the facility we had, not only courtside seats, but another group of Coliseum Club. And then you take folks with you on your foreign trips, which we've done for 3 or 4 times now. And you get a bunch of fans to spend time that way. And you got to remember, Larry, a big part of the time here I was the coach. Man, there's a lot of shady stuff going on in college basketball. And, I'm proud to say we didn't do that stuff. But it certainly wasn't easy to win. when other competitors are doing some of those things, and you're just still trying to just build your program the right way, and facility enhancements were first. And obviously I've talked about how there's a direct correlation to once we've got a Little John renovation, that the winning has been better and more consistent and at a higher level. And, heck, we've been to a Sweet 16 and an Elite 8 in the last, 7 years or whatnot. There's only 20, I think it's 24, 24 schools that have done that. That's pretty good. So I'm really proud of that, but none of that would have happened without all the support of those people. And that's why, those people traveling with us to Memphis and traveling with us to LA, and just being able to hug some of those people and thank them, and to see the pure joy on some of their faces, because those people have been behind us for a decade or more. And they've been making a lot of these trips and trying to support our team. And it's just, and now with NIL, that's a big piece of all this too. And, as a coach, you're kind of responsible for fundraising for your program. And I can't tell you the amount of, it's funny, that goes back to your first question of what have you been doing since the Elite 8 to now. I've spent a ton of time fundraising, for NIL and program and all the other stuff too.
Upstate foodies, want to take a moment to talk to you about our favorite taco spot, Willie Taco. 5 locations across the upstate. This award-winning team has been serving up fresh taco fusion for a solid decade now. The chefs at Willie Taco utilize the freshest, most creative, and sometimes unexpected ingredients in their kitchens. Come see why Southern Living, Garden and Gun, and Food and Wine Magazine are raving about Willie Taco and their signature offerings, such as their Southern Tide, crispy avocado, Nashville hot chicken tacos, literally flavors you will not find anywhere else, folks. And don't forget about the cocktails. Super fresh margaritas, ice cold cerveza, and over 80 tequilas served up daily from behind the bar. So don't wait, folks. Your Willie Taco Familia is ready to serve you up their twist on funky, fresh fusion. It's the Willie way. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith and Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced, professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union? If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Its office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. When you're raising money for a facility, I would think in general it's easier because that facility is going to be there for a long time and somebody's name can be on something.
Correct.
Versus, talent. And can you give a window into just the differences of fundraising to one thing versus the other?
It's just normal, what you would think. There's a lot of, a lot of folks don't believe in compensating the players. And so, they have a problem with NIL and they don't want to do it. And I understand, if I was a donor, I probably would feel the same way in a lot of ways initially, in terms of I'd rather see my money go for, whatever, an academic center, a new weight room, a better locker room, whatever else the coach needs, that seems tangible. Some of that is just because we're so conditioned that players shouldn't get paid. That's how it's always been done. It's what it is. I wasn't paid. Heck, I paid student loans for 10 years after college. So it's not easy for me to look at it that way all the time. Having said that, I also see how hard our players work and all these, all the athletes at Clemson, how the time, energy, and effort that these kids put in. They are not normal students. They don't live the normal student life. The expectations are and the demands are real and challenging. Now the rewards are unbelievable. And, I didn't get a full scholarship to go to college, so I know what a full scholarship means, and the way they're treated. Our department does an unbelievable job of creating a fantastic situation for the student athletes here in terms of academic support, mental health, sports psychologists, tutoring, tremendous doctor care, first class strength training staff, nutritionists, everything you could imagine and want. But at the end of the day, in our sport, men's basketball, which pays for a lot of the things that the NCAA does, I mean, our guys are responsible in some way, along with all the other players, of like generating a bunch of that money, and the football team and all that goes on with that. And the revenue from college or from television is obviously, everything has drastically changed. Sports has become tremendous big business. That's why the salaries have all gotten bigger. It's why tickets cost more. It's why, the budgets in athletic departments have doubled. But the student athletes, certainly are the ones that are performing, and to think that they shouldn't get a piece of that is probably not right. I don't think any of us love the way that it's done with this collective stuff, that we use collectives, but that's what it is right now. That's the game. And if your team is going to be competitive, you have to be involved in it. And sometimes you have to talk to, your donors about that. They just need to be more educated on that piece of it. Like it or not, it's real. And it's part of what we all deal with in the recruiting process.
I guess it makes it a lot easier when you point to what just happened with the Elite Eight. Not that NIL was the reason PJ came back. Not that it was the reason that Gerard chose Clemson over LSU and others. Not that it was the reason that Chase Hunter was still here, but it certainly helped.
Well, the factor, yeah. To think that it's not a factor is naive. It's a factor, and if you had a son or daughter, you would feel the same way. In these environments. And again, I go back to how much these kids spend, and they're not normal college students, and the stress and pressure. These kids feel it a lot more than folks realize. And that's one thing that, as a coach, that I've had to understand, or have begun to understand as I've gotten older, the whole social media and what that, the fact that I'm not on it. I'm a 55-year-old man, that it's not good for me to be on it. That's not real. My daughters are all on it. My wife is on it. All my players are on it. So that's the real world. And so the positive and negatives that they get out of all of that, creates more anxiety and stress. And I think there are times that, it affects players' performance. And there are some really hateful things that I know that are sent to our players after games. And that's hard, because you know how much these guys are fighting for us and each other and our program. And we all want them to play better, and they feel terrible about it. Hey, as their coach, we get frustrated with performance and all those things. But at the end of the day, it's hard to remember they're young people, 18 to 22, 23. And, it's just part of sports. You're not going to always play well, but then to have to deal with some of the stuff that they get is really hurtful. And again, it goes back to the time you got to spend with your guys to really make sure they're in good places. Because you think guys are in a good place, or they seem to be okay, and somebody's not, and you're just that really can put you off kilter as a group. And And so managing that part of it, messaging your team and managing that part of it with your team is as challenging as it's ever been. And that's part of why you see a proliferation of staffs. You got more people on staff to help the head coach. You know, I think Dabo was one of the great things that he did as a young coach was to really delegate and find folks to help him in some of his areas that he probably needed some help, and then keep him in his lane of what he does extremely well, which is he's an unbelievable CEO. He's an unbelievable manager of people, leader. And he's got a lot of folks helping him, what you need to make sure that you're in connection with your players all the time. And obviously it looks like Coach Bakich is doing the same. What a wonderful time in Clemson athletics, man. I mean, if you can't be proud of our athletic department and the successes, are you kidding me? What an unbelievable run. Mike, I mean, I don't want to say one school thing because my goodness. I mean, Mike Noonan national championship, women's soccer Final Four. The men's golf team off the mat and makes it, top 25 to finish the season. Women's golf, Elite Eight. I mean, holy cow. I tell you the other thing, Dabo and his guys to rally and finish the season with 5 straight wins. Like, people don't know how hard that is. Back against the wall and to finish it that way, unbelievable. Just what they're getting ready to do for volleyball, that's going to be great. Lacrosse, gymnastics, I mean, the successes, unbelievable what's going on here at this school and the facilities we have and incredible spirit. And, it's part of why I'm honored to be the coach here and have loved every minute of it because of how much I believe in this place and care about it. And you just good people, hire good people and give them some help and good things happen. And man, it's rolling. John Rittman in softball. Holy cow. Mark over in track and field. I mean, shoot, they win the ACC like a year ago. Holy cow. There's just been so much really good things happen that it's inspiring. And, I'm just glad we could do our part this year.
I've been up to the dikes up at the Rowan Center a million times over the years. And most of the times I'm, in a hurry, dropping my girls off so they can run, and then I'm leaving, going, got somewhere to be. But in early May, it was a Saturday morning, I dropped them off, and I just stopped and took about 5 minutes to look around at what's basically, I guess, the women's village up there. And it's just,
incredible.
It's like, this is amazing. What's been done up here.
Yeah, it's incredible. And, that's testament to our administration, obviously, certainly Dan and Graham and President Clements, the board. I mean, it's what, I tell folks all the time, man, people here care. They care about you as a person. They want you to do well. They're going to do everything in their power to give you the things you need to be successful. There's no better place to grow as a person than at Clemson. And, the folks that are very family oriented and really value all of those kinds of things, the personal growth and relationships, and those are the folks that we have the most success recruiting.
Well, Brad, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it, man. I'm going to tap out here.
I am extremely gracious for you giving me this much of your time, and happy for you and everybody else over there for the accomplishment. It was amazing to watch, and thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. I appreciate, again, all your time, but also just, the fact that you're talking about Clemson basketball in June is a good thing. So we appreciate that, and let's try to build on it, keep it going.
I was going to go until he said he had to climb out. I wasn't going to in the conversation because it was so good, as I think all y'all can agree. Really appreciate him giving us that time, and also thanks to all of you for giving us yours. Thanks to our sponsors as always, and hope everybody out there has a great weekend. Cheers.